All up in here, Dunham Island, this whole area here in Carlos Bay, this shoreline, hard packed grass, potholes, a lot of different undulation that's in here. This is a great little area. Not too terribly far away from whether if you go out of St. Charles where you got a Copo Bay bridge, you can get to it pretty easily. And even if you're coming out of Rockport, you can get to it fairly easy. But it's a great little spot. Water flow through is good. Water clarity's been good. We haven't had just super high winds in the last 8 to 10 days. Again, the common theme that hasn't gone away is the heat. Water temps are, they're hovering in that 88 to 90 degree temperature. So that's just something we have to contend with until we get some type of weather pattern here that's going to change that up for us. But it gives you access to, you got that nice little shoreline there. Then you come over here to Cedar Dugout and Cedar Reef. You can fish all this area here, whether it be on the inside or on the outside. And that's another common thing that's been happening too, is a lot of the trout that we've been targeting still hanging on the reefs, all the shells. So great place to start. We're trying to get on the water by 6:15. Still somewhat dark at that point in time, but that's when our bite frames have really kind of taken off for us. We've been pretty productive during those time frames. And then, of course, too, we got to experience the moonset minor on top of that with this big moon. Now that we're going to be on the back side of it into our transition days, you can kind of tell as that begin to move and that moon would set and it get on past that time frame, that bite frame would really kind of die off. And it's been another consistent thing that has taken place. We get into the 9:30, 10 o'clock hour, the trout bite starts to really just slow down. From that 6 o'clock till then, you have great opportunity to find you and catch you some fish in those particular areas and over that type of structure. I guess, again, wind hadn't been a factor for us, so you can pretty much fish it however you want. So main choices of baits that we've been primarily using it's been the down south in the burner shad and the original size. Multiple different flavors. We've gone from Big Papa, Twisted Tea, White Ice, Bone Diamond have been our staples use as far as the colors go. Sprinkled in a few different things. Pink has been okay. Pearl has been pretty good. Sprinkled in some Double D. Some topwater action has been spotty, but yet we're still getting opportunities with it. Where the topwater that is. Now, the Double D has been pretty good for us. Like, if we see some activity with our topwater bait that they're just kind of slapping or swirling at, then we'll put that Double D or even put the plastic back on and get that bait down just a little bit lower into the water column so it gets in front of their face. And we've had pretty good production from that and that stylistic to approach that way. So working those types of areas with those baits has been very good for us in the knock and tail lure. Watermelon red has been good for us. Heavy metal greenback has been good, been the main one. Rogue, a little sprinkled in those rogue, but those four flavors have been pretty good for the most part. And then, of course, we've been throwing a lot of mirror lures as well mixed in with that. Red and gold glitter, watermelon red. There's a little, it's like a frost color. I don't remember the name of it in the mirror lure, but it's along the white line of that. So it's been pretty good for us as well. So those flavors have been good. Like I say, the Double D, topwater have all been pretty good baits to throw in and around those types of areas. We've just been bouncing it off of that shell, off the deeper edge of the shell, working that kind of area with that. And that's where we found our fish. Now, the one thing that really reared its ugly head during this big moon phase, you may have to take your time and fish a particular stretch. Once you caught a fish and you know that there's fish that are hanging there based on what your bait is and the moon set or moon rise, whatever you were fishing, you may have to throw in that particular area 8 to 10 times before you got that fish to eat. So being really methodical when you're working these shell bars, especially through that big moon phase and here in the transition phase with the water temps what they are, fish are not super active. I mean, our bites were like super light, and you really just had to feel, you had to have the right equipment to make sure that you were feeling those bites to get the opportunity to catch those fish. If you did not, if you had something that was a little off, a little heavier rod action or something to that effect, you may not even feel those bites. So it's important when it's a critical time frame like that, when the fishing here in August has been extremely tough the whole month, and it continues to be that way because basically, number one, water temps and air temps have dictated that. Of course, we got this big moon here on the back end of the month, so that's all been a factor into it. So we really, you may have a 150-yard stretch of a shoreline or a shell bar out in the mid-bay reef somewhere. It may take you 2 to 3 hours to really work that and be productive to find your fish. So, like I say, if you're greyhounding through some of these areas, there's fish that are on these things, but if you're going too fast and not slow down everything, technique, walking, the whole process, you're going to miss fish that are there. And there's quality fish that are hanging on these reefs. So, again, if there's nothing else that you take away from this particular video today, then really slow everything down right now. Like I say, 16th ounce jig heads has been very favorable for us, and we've just really taken our time using these lighter weights, really slow process, really patient process, and just taking our time working these reefs. Reefs. They are continue to be a continuing theme in this hotter water, hotter weather, all this stuff, just what I've mentioned in the last video. These are the type of structure that you want to be over. All out here in Aransas Bay, or if you have other areas that you like to cover that has reefs available to you, no matter where that is, there's lots of areas that these fish are hanging over this, especially trout, primarily trout. And that's really what we're targeting early morning, like I say, and then we'll go locate some redfish later in the day if possible. But this is our target area. We're working all these reefs that are out here in Aransas Bay. You got Jaybird, you got Spalding Reef, you got the Towhead Reefs. It's over here. You got the little reef that's right off the Spoil Island. These reefs that are here. There's reefs that are all up and down the ICW here up in Aransas Bay area. You got part of Long Reef, which used to be, that extended on past that, and these reefs are still here. That some of these are not sticking out of the water like they once upon a time used to be. Just time and tides. Hurricane Harvey knocked a lot of them down, but they're still there structural wise. They're still hanging. So you have a lot of opportunity out here if you've got updated GPSs. Even the cheapest versions of your GPS are going to show where these reefs are at. Just in formation wise, you can see these types of things that are on your GPS. So if you can get on some of the reefs and weight it, we've had a lot of success with that on some of these. Some of them we might have been belly deep, even upper belly, lower chest deep in some of these areas to fish, and done pretty good. But some of them are a little bit deeper, they're a little bit too much to wade. So you can anchor up, throw you some baits off the edge of these, work these things. Because we've had our tides have not been super high for any amount of reason. They've been pretty low for the most part in the morning, so it's really kind of opened some of these reefs up for us. So we've had access to some of them a little more so than we over the last couple of weeks than we have been in weeks previous before that. So like I say, you can drift them, you can anchor up, throw your artificials on there, or if you're a live bait individual, you can throw those in there. I've talked to some different people that have done that, and they've had some pretty decent success off of those. So it's just something to put on your radar in these next couple of weeks. Like I say, we're in our transition days right now, coming off this big moon, headed toward the new moon. So these next few days, this will be a great area to really target, because there's nothing that I'm seeing weather pattern wise that's really going to change more than what we've doing. We're still going to be in the upper 80s, low 90s in water temp. But that deeper water, get on those reefs early if you can, and then you can focus. Really, you can just kind of use it as a 2-for-1, then kind of slide out to the deeper edge as that sun gets up a little higher, and start fishing in that 4 to 6 foot of water, and those fish are hanging off that somewhere on one of these reefs. You just have to locate and just kind of, that's where your instrumentation really comes in handy on these better GPS systems that they have out now. So if you've got that on your boat, good for you. Use it to your advantage to locate and find those edges, and take your time and work it. Again, the bite has not been super aggressive by any means. Everything that we have caught has been very, very light bites. So again, patience is key. That's going to be the word of the week for you, is being patient, working it. Just don't get in a hurry when you get these. Again, the same baits that I mentioned in the last one. Now, of course, if you're going to fish the deeper edges, you may want to put on maybe an 1/8 ounce, even a 3/16 ounce jig head, just to work that deeper water for you, and just kind of bounce it off those edges. So it's been that's kind of been the game plan that we have done. If we're not able to wait it, then we'll drift across some of them just to see if they got fish hanging on those. But again, the majors, minors have been the key thing. Of course, your majors are coming more in the midday, so it's been a little bit more difficult around that. You can scratch out a few bites, but the minor setting has been good, or minor rise has been pretty good if you're fishing late evening. So just put those into your quotations on how you go about your day and on your plan, and just enjoy your time out on the water. Here at Copano Bay, Copano Reef, again, the same thing, man. Hit your reefs early. Get on these things, work those. So again, with the lower tides that we've had over the last few days, it has given us opportunity that we can get out and wade some of these areas. You know, it's a little deeper. You may have to be in that 3 foot of water depending on what the tide is. But if not, again, just like out in Aransas Bay, we drifted across some of these, throwing artificials on top of that and have a decent amount of success. And one of the good things about being here off of Copano Reef is that you've got a lot of the gas wells that are out here. So later in the morning, you can get on those and you can locate some fish that are hanging in a little bit deeper water. So, you're getting around that 8 to 10 foot of water. What you do, and we've done this technique and other things before too, just kind of put your down scan imaging on your GPS system and just kind of troll around them to see if you got bait working in some of those areas. And if you do, put your spot lock on, or if you're old school, and throw an anchor out and sit there and throw up into those legs of those gas wells, and you'll be pleasantly surprised that you're catching some fish live. Now, a lot of those were smaller fish, in that 14 to 15 inch, but about every 6th or 8th one that we'd catch, you'd have a 17 or 18 that was mixed in there with it. So depending on how many people you got in your party, you can find your fish if you're ultimately going to keep some of those. So that was kind of been our game plan on that. And of course, you got reefs that are all out here in Copano. So just get on your GPS and locate these and find your depth and just kind of work them. Work the deeper edges of it. And if you come across a spot where you're in that 2 foot of water or so, get out and wait it and work the edge of those, because, again, that has been the most consistent form for us these early mornings, is getting on these reefs like that, whether it be out here in the deeper water or up shallower in some of the other areas that we've been fishing. So all these areas that are out here, you could locate in and around the gas wells, on the reefs, and we've worked all those different types of areas up and down that. So you really have a lot of options for you based on what weather is and what our water temp is. Again, all these bay systems, it doesn't matter if it's Copano or all the way to the upper Laguna, it's been in the upper 80s. 88 to 90 has been pretty consistent no matter what bay system we're in. You may find a little cooler water closer to the ICW, but there's not just a tremendous amount of structure in and around that, except in just a few areas. But that said, like I say, this is what our formula has been this past week, is really working these reefs real well, wading or drifting. Again, the primary baits that we were throwing the burner shad, we were throwing the original size in the down south, and the flavors I mentioned, Big Papa, White Ice, Bone Diamond, those flavors. And you can even mix in a few different colors just to see, but keeping that profile size was important, because that's really what they wanted to do. Anything, if you went bigger to like a 5 or 6 inch, we just did not see very much production consistently off of that on that profile size. We'd catch a few fish, but not so much like we would if we were throwing that burner or the original. And of course, the knock and tail falls into that same size of what the original size is. So the Rogue flavor and the greenback out there around the reefs did really well. The Double D, pretty good. It's kind of hard to work that from the boat and keep that water. So we kind of flipped over to the Soft Dine, or the Soft Dine XL. And of course, off in the Mirror Lure Little John, and some of the XLs in the Little John. So those flavors did pretty good. Size-wise, mostly, in that smaller size to that mid-range size profile again, because, the XL gives you just a little bit fatter profile, and it really fits good into this time frame with that big moon. Now, in the transition moon that's coming, we're going to be into, you want to give yourself lots of options. I say this many times when we're in those transition moons. Give yourself a big option to a small option, and pay close attention to what's going on as far as because the fish will dictate what they want. If they want that bigger profile or a smaller profile or in between profile. Depending on your depth of water, you may want to change your jig head. But like I say, early, we've been fishing really shallow, and then of course as that moon or that sun gets up, we're dropping off into that deeper edged water where those fish are staying comfortable. Again, incorporate that major and minor into your fishing day to give you the best production that you possibly can get out of it. And patience, just like I've said in the other couple of videos, man, be super patient right now because the fish are not extremely aggressive at all.